Welcome to the Palmcast with Steve Willis, your independent, unbiased, and unbought source for Ole Miss athletics. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Right here. Welcome to the Palmcast. I am Stephen Willis coming to you live from the palatial Central Florida studios. Still have some bugs that we're trying to get through. We're dealing with some internet issues and just general move-in stuff. Everybody has done that. But thank you very much for joining me today. And, Brandon Buckhalter decommitted from Mississippi State. He's a heavy lean to recommit to Ole Miss. He's going to join potentially Luke Altmaier. Recruiting seems to be picking up and going well. But that's something to look forward to with signing day less than 2 weeks away. Yeah, time has really flown. But we have a potential like Ole Miss and LSU like 3 days after signing day. It's just weird. It's just weird, the setup. Let's see. You can follow us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis or at Old Positively. On Facebook at facebook.com/Palmcast. YouTube, Positively Ole Miss. Hit the bell for updates. You can see when we're streaming. And, of course, we're on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss. All one word. If you do audio, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. Those are the major ones. If we were to list off the minor ones, we would be here all day. So thank you for that. Those are the ways you can be a part of the show. And whenever we start streaming and go live, you'll be able to participate in the show and ask your questions and do what you need to do. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be a game changer, and unlike anything that has been done for Ole Miss other than maybe this season. So this is going to be really cool. This is going to be a little bit different. It's going to kind of be a TV show. It's going to kind of be interactive. It's going to be a lot of fun. But we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to talk to you and tell you what's going on, explain the faults that are happening, honestly, with the way it's covered, because that affects so much. And that's a nice lead into today's, rant. Who knows? But the media basically made up a story. And this is how when I say they made up a story, this is how it happens. There's a group of people that sit in a room together for, an hour or two before the press conference. They're on Twitter. They're all talking. They all know each other. They all have each other's text message. And then it's like just a little bubble within a bubble. Like you've got the tiny Oxford Market bubble, and then you've got the journalist bubble. And it's just a bubble of information circulating around a small group of people. Well, somebody, I don't know who, and I don't know what the impetus behind this was, decided to ask on Monday if Matt Corral was coming back. There's been no notion of Matt Corral going pro. There's been no anything of Matt Corral going pro. But if one media wants to invent a storyline, and this is where money is a major problem in journalism, the way it's set up. The layers between money and content are almost nil. That's the reason I'm doing this. I have the ability to do this. I can do this for you and kind of give you an unvarnished look at what's going on and call people for when they're blatantly making something up. And everybody looked at Matt Corral's season. It's like, wow, he's having a great year. He's having a fantastic year. What if he goes pro? And it's just an internal thought. But if you can get that question asked at a press conference and Lane Kiffin goes on the record, it becomes a story. So they asked the question. Lane Kiffin's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess we need to talk to Matt about it, because, you never know what's going to happen. And then the next press conference, Lane Kiffin comes in and volunteers like, oh, Matt's coming back. He's 1,000% coming back. Yeah, he was always 1,000% coming back. The only difference is it gets twisted in between. That's why media is deemed untrustworthy today. That's not journalism they're doing. That's them trying to wag the dog. That's them trying to make the news, to sell subscriptions. Because only anger or elation affects the bottom line. You have to always be simmering at one of the 2 points. And as we've gone before, Ole Miss has not done elation that often. So they play anger. So what that does is it eventually turns people off. They walk away from the school. They walk away from doing it altogether because it's affecting their mental health. And it's all because stuff like this is happening. And it can sometimes affect the players because something like this, getting to Rufus French, will make him declare early and not get drafted. So it actually affects the kids too. It's a problem that we've dealt with pay sites from the beginning. From the absolute beginning. Anything that is subscription driven is going to be, we need to, if we do the headline like this, we'll get more subscriptions. If we write the story like this, we'll get more subscriptions because it's affecting their bottom line. Then they will play ignorant about it after the fact. And it's like, I was just doing my job. This is how journalism works. No, it's not how journalism works. But good on you for pushing back. If you did that. Because it is a case of wag the dog. They shouldn't put Matt Corral in that situation. They shouldn't put Lane Kiffin in that situation. They shouldn't have done any of that. 2 games left in the season. You're bored because there's 3 bye weeks. Okay. That's affecting your bottom line. Okay. Who cares? Not the University of Mississippi, not its football team, and not its fans. Who's it really affecting? Exactly. Coming back, segment 2 of the Palmcast right here on Positively Ole Miss. Stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
Welcome back to the Palmcast. I'm Stephen Willis. Thank you for listening this morning. I know there's options out there. There's not many free ones, of course, but this one is there, and we're trying to do the best we can. In the first segment, we talked about how the media is wagging the dog, and basically, this is why the media is looked down on as declining in the eyes of the general public. I mean, it's just, there's no truth anymore. There's just basically no standards, but most of all, honestly, there's no consequences. And whenever people figure out that they can do basically whatever they want, and people will just keep coming back and taking it and consuming it, they're going to keep doing it. I mean, that's the way it works. Now, I am doing basically an experiment this year to where no pay sites for Ole Miss is being paid for, and how informed will I be? And right now, I missed nothing. Just absolutely nothing. Because the press conferences are all available on YouTube, and that's what the stories are written from journalists. I had air quotes up. And they're coming straight off of that. So if you want the questions and the answers completely unvarnished, and they actually get to see the body language of the person that said it, go that route. If you do that, you'll be able to predict the next 4 days worth of stories, because that's the way it works. I mean, we're already dealing with a group of people that I think have gone 1 for 25 over the last 2 years on signing day. Their opinion that's not educated enough to matter. And now they're just inventing stories to get you angry. It's almost like they're trying to make their money now because their time is running short, which that might be the case, honestly. This is a different path forward. And thank you so much for listening. And what we're going to do is, eventually try and find somebody that does recruiting, and find somebody that will be the practice expert in Oxford to come on to the TV show to tell us what they're seeing. Not necessarily what they're saying, because we can hear what they're saying. Everything's online now. But what are they seeing? And I mean, that's going to be a pretty cool thing. But it's going to be a separation from media essentially creating a content item and then creating a content item on the answer. That's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, moving on, Ole Miss basketball's season opener, the men's team, will be next Thursday against Jackson State, and they play Central Arkansas on Monday. So that'll be the beginning of the basketball team and their potential run moving forward. So I'm looking quite forward to that. I'm not a super basketball guy, but I can talk about it a little bit about what I see. I mean, if people don't understand football and are pining about it, it shouldn't be that big of a difference. Shouldn't be that big of an issue. Same thing goes with baseball. Those are the things we're going to cover this year. Go over some women's basketball and women's soccer and all that, and whenever the opportunity presents itself. But it's going to be a fun experiment that we are doing, and hopefully something that you guys can get behind, because it's actually meaningful. Our goal is to grow the fan base, to keep the subscribers informed to the podcast. It's completely free. We'll never ask you for money. We'll never ask you to go to a second location. We will not create stories. We will not invent news. And we'll just kind of tell you what's going on with the football program. Completely unvarnished. Completely true. no bias that comes with taking money from you and how to get more and more, because money always produces greed, especially when you're not used to having it. But we move on to recruiting. Brandon Buckhalter from, Hillcrest Academy in Flowood, Mississippi, decommitted from Mississippi State last night. The thought is that he's going to commit in the next 10 days to Ole Miss. And the thought is he's going to join Luke Altmyer at Ole Miss. So that's two players right there. Now, this season kind of got messed up, especially at the high school level because of COVID. And you have places like Jackson Public Schools not playing. And then you have players that were like big-time players from JPS. Like one went to Jackson Academy. I think that was Deion Smith. Brandon Buckhalter plays for, I think, Hillcrest or something. Hartsfield Academy, I think. And those players are trying to find homes. So this season has been very interrupted, more so than the college level at the high school level. And it's worth recognizing that. Also, my McGee Trojans are in the state championship game against Noxubee County down in Jackson. That game will be played tomorrow in Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium. I got to play in that game once in 1993, and Morris Scott and Mon Nicholson chewed us up. We hurt the quarterback pretty much instantly in that game, and they put Mon Nicholson back in quarterback, and they basically did David Palmer things, and he ended up cutting us to shreds, running a precursor, whether they knew it or not, to what Auburn was running from 2010 to 2014. So they ended up getting us, but it was pretty cool. They did move the quarterback back to the shotgun for that game. Our center had not taken a snap at shotgun quarterback, but it was all because of Morris Scott, because they knew our left tackle was going to get beaten and Morris Scott just beat the hell out of Chad Grayson that day. Oh my God, we made jokes for 10 years after that. Anytime members of the team ran into each other, that Chad was like seeing shadows of Morris Scott still, because it was bad. It was actually bad. But Brandon Buckhalter decommitted, Luke Altmyer decommitted. So that's two potential Ole Miss players. McKalen Pounders is also playing along on Twitter. But he's released a Final Five of Mississippi State, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mizzou, and I'm assuming LSU. It just says "Go Tigers," but it might be somebody else. Every third team in America is nicknamed the Tigers, so it could be anybody. So recruiting is picking up. The third bye week of the season is happening now. Ole Miss football had to shut down operations yesterday. I do not have any information now about it restarting today, but the test results are due back today. So keep an eye on Twitter. Follow me at @TheStephenWillis. And if it pops up, I will retweet it and inform you immediately. That's kind of that. They had to shut down the facility yesterday because of that. And if it comes back with extra positives, a lot of contact tracing is going to happen. Contact tracing. And so I don't know if anybody that's found today, on this test is out for the Texas A&M game. Just so you know. They'll be back in time for LSU if the people that caught it this time. So all right, and I apparently have a woodpecker on my house, so that is pretty cool. I was wondering who's making that noise, but there's a lot of birds down here that I've noticed in my move. There's a ton of birds. Like, I'm going on my walk and there's like a seagull that has a hornbill. There was like 30 in my yard. And yesterday there was just like a stork just hanging out, or a heron or something. And it was about 4 foot tall. And he's just walking across the yard, minding his own business. And it's like, whoa, well, okay. There you go. Also, if you listen to Around the SEC, just know that we're having internet hiccups. We're going to put it up as is, but there's a couple of dropouts that happened in it. So just be wary of that. Fast forward it when you can. I would listen to it on one of the podcatchers and not watch it on one of the video formats. It'll be easier that way. Anyway, segment 2 in the books right here on Positively Ole Miss. I'm Stephen Willis. Thanks for listening.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you seeing the soft glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's trusted choice independent insurance agents.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
Welcome back to Positively Ole Miss, the Pomcast, right here on the Positively Ole Miss Network. We're coming at you live every day to bring you relevant information that you need to know, and also serve as a check mark against those that would take advantage of it. That's why we're here. We're going to be a check. We're going to build the fan base, and we're going to provide unbiased and unbought information right here on Positively Ole Miss. That was my radio voice. I know it was exciting, wasn't it? I was pretty excited. My buddy Ben Garrett, who is also a journalist, he lives in the Oxford area, wrote a story that you might want to check out, that Dean Leonard from the press conference, if you want to watch that as well so you can see what he said, go to our YouTube page because it auto-populates there. But it said Otis Reese and Talent Knight have brought attitude to the Ole Miss defense. That's a good headline. And it's probably the case. Ole Miss's defense, as I told you last week, with the addition of Otis Reese, the defense could not get anything but better when you replaced the, at best, 12th best defender with the number 1 ranked defender. I mean, it's just talent getting better. And now you have a situation where the defense can function like you want it to. to where you can have Otis Reese at star and Sam Williams at buck and do all the defense around them. Now, against State, that got blown up a little bit because Jonathan Haynes got the targeting call and Otis Reese had to rotate in there as well. So, but now you can do that. And Dean Leonard is kind of coming into his own right now on the outside. He has a chance to be really good next year. And next year, Jonathan Haynes will be replaced, or A.J. Finley will be replaced by Jacob Springer. Now, it might be a situation where Jacob Springer ends up playing the star and Otis Reese goes back to the John Haynes strong safety position. Either way, you're in good shape. Jacob Springer was an all-conference American player. And he only had to sit out because of, the way the Naval Academy works. Basically, every student at the Naval Academy is on scholarship. So if you leave the Naval Academy, there has to be something that affects you NCAA-wise. And that is, there is no buys. There's no waivers for transfers. But next year, he's either going to play the star, which he kind of played last year for Navy, or he will play strong safety, the position. Either him and Otis Reese, they'll be in different places. They'll have similar roles. And they will kind of be interchangeable. Need A.J. Finley to take a step towards physicality, playing strong safety, or somebody like Tysheem Johnson will take his job. That is absolutely a possibility of that happening. He's a heck of a player and a free safety, and Lane Kiffin will play freshman. That's the USC in this team. Everything is about recruiting to Lane Kiffin, and he has been with Pete Carroll and Nick Saban to see how it's done. So he has a pretty good path of how this needs to be. So, know that. But the defense has a chance to improve sharply. Jamon Gordon at defensive line. There's a flip projected of Devin Lee to Virginia Tech, but we'll see. But the defense has a chance to be much better. John Lewis is projected to Ole Miss from Germantown, Mississippi. He's a linebacker, and he can run. He kind of fits our mold. It's coming. It's happening. I expect Damon Clowney to make a jump in year 2. It's basically a redshirt year anyway. The offensive line, I expect Eli Acker to move in and seamlessly replace Royce Newman. Eli Acker is a really good player. And I expect some transfers going out. Those players like DeMarcus Gregory, Miles Battle, that have trouble getting on the field as is, they're going to find locations where they can. And that's okay. Because if you're not on the 2 deep on this team, as depth deprived as you can get, what makes you think you would be on the 2 deep of next year's team? Or the year after? Or the year after? Just something to keep an eye on. But players are going to go out. Transfers are going to come in. We have the players that are going to graduate and be processed. There's going to be a higher number than normal encouraged to leave. Because they want the transfers to be able to come in. And they need the numbers to be right in 2022. 2021, there's an exception, but not really for 2022. All right, that's the show for today. Thanks for listening. I'm Stephen Willis. This has been the Pomcast. I'll see you tomorrow.